Welcome to the Sports Stories podcast. I'm your host, Dave Levine from the Summit Partnership and creator of Sports Stories. The Sports Stories podcast is the place where we are looking to relay powerful and inspirational stories from the world of sport. If you're looking for inspiration and ideas, as well as interested in getting an insight into how successful players, coaches, managers, administrators, and even parents find their way in sport, then stay with us. You're in the right place. Look out for the never shared before insights into the life stories of individuals, some you might know, who are making a difference in sport locally, nationally, and even internationally. Hear their incredible challenges and difficulties and how they've overcome them, who has inspired them, what has been their key motivations, and crucially, hear the top tips and advice they would give you to fulfill your dreams, aspirations, and potential. I really believe there is inspiration and brilliant insight we can gain from everyone's story. So wherever you are, in the car, at the gym, having your lunch break, or even just sat at home, take this protected time, listen deeply, and enjoy. So if you like Sports Stories podcast, please share with your colleagues and friends, follow us on social media, and subscribe to the Sports Stories podcast. And crucially, give us your feedback and any suggestions so we can make this even more enjoyable and beneficial to you. So it's with great pleasure I would like to welcome to our second show the Head of Academy Coaching at Preston North End, Matt Craddock. Welcome to the Sports Stories podcast. It's really great to have you with us here today, Matt. Thanks for giving up your time. I must say I've been really excited about coming together to talk. We've known each other now, I think it's been a couple of years or so, and every conversation we've had, you've always left me thinking a little bit about, what it is you do, what it is I do, and just being really curious about the journey that you've been on. So it's been a really great pleasure to have you with us here on the Sports Stories podcast today, and hopefully we can have a really good informal conversation.
Yeah.
Just as an introduction, it would be great for you just to give us a little bit of a sense of who you are and what you're doing right now.
So I currently work at a football club. My role is head of coaching, and that's it's a different role at every club, but I guess where I work, it's mainly responsible for sort of stuff on the grass. So stuff around the coaching curriculum, the coach development program, making sure all the coaches we have in are up to the qualifications that they need and are suitable for delivering on what we want them to deliver. It's also probably we're a small scale staff, so really all of our role is the same thing, and that's about developing players to work into our first team. Philosophically, my role, I see it as developing people, and then players after that. So, or coaches, but it's developing people really. And I think my role before this was working in the FA as a coach developer. Same principle, developing people, helping people make themselves better. So I see that as sort of my role and all of our roles really within our context.
Okay, brilliant. And it really warms me to hear you talk about developing people, because I think the sense of the Sports Stories podcast and what we would like to do is to hear a bit about your story, to help develop other people and give them an opportunity to be inspired and get some nuggets out of your journey really. So if we were to go to a place of what's your first recollection or your first involvement in sport? Can you take us back?
My first memory is a photograph. I think it's at my nana's where I'm wearing a Man United kit in the back garden. That's the first one. I think probably more actively I remember playing in the school team. I used to just play and do as much as I could. Every time that we when we were in school, as soon as the school bell finished, I'd be playing football. And
why football? What got you into football?
I guess it's just something that everybody did. I try and think about why I do this job and why it is football, and everyone did football. They just now I actually watch a lot of sports. I enjoy watching loads of sports, but back when I was a kid, it just was football was everything. Whenever even in PE when they said, "Oh, we're going to do rugby," it was like, "Oh, I just wanted to do football all the time." I loved it. It was great. And probably like when I was growing up, the Premier League started, and that got really exciting because it was on telly more, and it was just talked about. It was sensationalized. It just became a real exciting thing. And I just remember all the time. It was when when school holidays were on, where you literally would leave the house at 9, and you wouldn't, and your mum would say, there's £3, see you at 6, you know, and you'd push it and try and come back for 7. And you'd literally just play football all day long. You wouldn't, you wouldn't do anything else.
Was football and sport in your family then when you were?
Not really. We liked it. My mum and dad, we all went to football as a family.
Okay. Yeah.
So when we moved here, our local club was Blackpool. We'd all go as a family to Blackpool. We'd go all the time. So we'd go to all the home games as a family. Even some away games, we'd get in the car and the 5 of us would travel. Yeah. And that was just something that we all did. So it wasn't like mum and dad was, played it really. They did when they were kids, and my mum even played football. But it wasn't like we were sports stars or anything like that. We just really liked it, and it was exciting. And I think the more I got into it, the more I probably saw the detail behind what I was enjoying. Yeah. But at the time, I just loved it. Right. And I remember playing for the school team. I remember playing in certain clubs. Yeah. And, I even did it in college all the way up to there. And then I think when I realised I wasn't going to do it as a job, it was like, right, well, what do I do now? And that was weird, because I just thought everything was just football, and then suddenly you got to the point where you thought, I'm actually going to have to do something.
What do you mean when you say you knew you weren't going to do it as a job, or what was that about? Is that about being a footballer?
Yeah, I think that's it. Well, probably all the boys I grew up with, that was their dream, and everyone fell off at a certain point. Some of my friends went and played, and really really pleased and proud of them. But we all, the rest of us fell off the ladder at a certain point. I stayed on the ladder a little bit longer than some of my other mates, but eventually fell off. And at that point, it was like, right, I need to do something, And I went to university just as a bit of a time filler, because I wasn't sure what to do. It's like, I can't play football. I can't play football every day. My mum and dad think I need to go and get a job or go to university. So I went to university, and it gave me a bit more time. And I think I had probably like a couple of years where I did less stuff with football. I went and watched it still, but was just a lot less involved. And I think I realised that I miss it. I really like it. I want to be involved in it. And I think that was my.
So you worked out that football was needing to be a part of your life, as you were going forward.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you to I'd be interested to hear anyway. What's been a message, or what's a kind of a quote or a saying or something that's driven you throughout your career in involvement in sport? Do you have a phrase or a?
I have a phrase. I don't think it's necessarily about football.
Okay,
but
great.
The one that I sort of love and live by is about education, and it's around education is about lighting a fire, not filling a well. And I absolutely love it. And as soon as I heard it, it sort of really struck with me, because I thought, if you think back to my favourite bits of school, it was the teachers that made you go, ooh, what's this? And you went away and learnt it yourself. You were that interested in it. You didn't need the teacher then. She or he had done their job.
By lighting that fire.
Yeah. And that's stuck with me through everything. So even now with my coaching, I'm really keen on making it interesting and sharing some detail and encouraging the players to go off and find it themselves and come back to me. And when they do, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's the best. Right. That's the best bit. It's like really exciting. So it's not probably about football. It's just about it's probably a life thing. But I just love that thing, and I like seeing it in my daughters as well, when they come back and tell you about stuff, and they go on and on and on and on. The girls, and they're going on and on and on and on. Yeah. And you think, God, this is brilliant. Cause.
And where did you get that from? Where did the idea of the importance of having a fire lit within me, or me lighting a fire within others?
I think so at my time at the FA, we did a lot of learning about learning. Okay. So it was early on in my time at the FA that I came across that quote. Yeah. And it just struck a chord with me, because I thought that's really true. Yeah. And I think about everything that I do and everything that I learned, everything that I was good at, I had done because I was interested in it. Yeah. Yeah. And it was like that fire had been lit in me, and I went off and found out more stuff. Okay. So I think I've probably been doing it a long time, and when I got told that phrase, I thought, oh wow, that sums up so many things that I've seen, witnessed, and been part of. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
And then can you share an example or a time where you've been really successful and somebody's really lit that fire within you, And therefore, what did they do?
Yeah, well, I went on you go on loads of courses and stuff, and you always take off something, but there was this one particular thing that one of the FA tutors delivered on, and I just found it really interesting. He'd gone into some real detail, he'd found real specific patterns, and he'd researched, it was about how goals were scored. And I just loved it. I thought it was great, and I immediately went home, and I remember sitting on my day off one day, and I watched something like 250 goals in one morning. I had a big piece of paper, and I was plotting where every single goal was scored, because I wanted to see if he was right.
You
think,
trying it out.
Yeah, and you're thinking, is he right? And I'm thinking, oh, actually,
and was he?
Yeah, he was right. And it was slightly different. His context is slightly different to our context. So the way our football team plays is different to his football team. But I was seeing trends, and you're thinking, oh wow, this is great. And then I thought, well, I wonder where the assist pass, which was the pass leading up to the goal, came from. So then I went back and watched 250 goals again, plotting where the pass came from. And I was like, God, it's right. Yeah. And that it just grew and grew and grew. And I think what the way he did it was finding about, he was giving me something,
right?
Or he'd created something that helped his players understand. Okay. And because they understood, they could make better decisions. Right. And if they can make better decisions, they can perform better. Right. So that was the key. It wasn't just something that was interesting that had no output. Yeah. It was interesting, and it helped. Okay. And that got me.
And it sounded like he delivered it in a way to you that lit your fire, because it gave you the right level of content and detail and specificity.
Yeah, so he told a story. Told a story. I think we'll talk about probably books later on, but there's a person that I talk about, Damien Hughes. I talk about him quite a lot, but I love his books, and his books really got me. And he talks about telling stories. Everyone who is effective in any area is a good storyteller, and I think a coach is no different. He stood up and he told a story about what had happened at the last Champions.
Can you remember the story?
Yeah, basically he gave a context about, so he worked for one of the national governing bodies, so he was working, I think it was under the 20s. They'd had a tournament maybe 4 years previously, and it didn't go very well, and he had loads of examples of how it didn't go very well, particularly around finishing the attacks or scoring goals. He then unpicked that. He then showed the research behind it, the interventions he put in, and then the output was the next tournament and how much better they were at it.
So he took you on the journey of the whole story.
Brilliant, really good, really simple. It was a story, and it just, it was great. And that just, like you said, that just lit the paper, and I was off. And I was off. I probably can't even tell you what happened for the rest of the day. And I think it was a morning session. The rest of the day was a complete wipeout, because I was just. That was it.
So could you summarise for us? You've really struck me with the power of stories. And I think that's partly why we're doing the Sports Stories podcast, because it's about sharing stories. Yeah. But what's been your learning about you in terms of how do people light your fire? What is it that?
Passion, I think.
Right.
Care.
Okay.
And I think that's probably it. I think it's if they're passionate about it and they care about it and it helps.
Okay, so it adds value there. It helps.
Adds value. Then I'm in. Yeah, I'm in. And he was really passionate. He cared about his players. Okay. And it added value to what he was doing. Yeah. And they're the three things.
So he delivered that, and that's what really hooked you. Is that you could see some value in how
it was
how his approach.
He was talking about the players as people. Okay. He wasn't saying. Brilliant. He wasn't talking about how they plant their left foot and how they strike the ball with their right. He was talking about them making decisions and then having the information available to make decisions. Right. And that's a person. That's not a player. Right. And that was great.
Which for me really plays quite strongly to your philosophy there about actually this is about people. Who play football and developing the person, and I can see how that's played out in your approach in what you do.
Really important. We work with kids from 8 to 20, and football is important, part of their life, but it is a part of their life, and we need to have that context and that understanding that it is just a part of their lives, because they need to be rounded individuals, and all of the players that we have at our club will leave the club at some point. Right. They might leave at 12, they might leave at 14, they might be incredibly talented and lucky and have a career that spans 20 years, but then they will leave the club, and we need to make sure that when they leave the club, they're leaving the club being a better person, and are prepped and ready to handle with whatever comes next. Yeah, because you see, I mean, particularly now, you see so many stories about people finishing, you know, we talked about it before, about finishing work and not having a purpose. You know, we need to make sure that football is not just their purpose, it has to be bigger. And for me, I think it is about helping people. That's bigger than football, isn't it? It's brilliant.
Working out their purpose maybe through football even.
But football is the vehicle. But it's not the road, it's not the destination, it's just a vehicle that's taking you.
So let me take us to the flip side of that coin then, Matt, in terms of can you give an example or a story of when, you know, a pretty hard time that you've had in your career where you've actually called on your philosophy of, you know, relighting my fire to pull me back out of that?
There's been a couple. It's difficult. I haven't got a playing background, so this industry is very difficult to penetrate without that credibility. You have to add value in other ways and demonstrate your value and build your credibility in other ways. So it's not impossible, but it's difficult. But there's hurdles at every sort of level. I'd probably say before I joined the FA, I worked in a local authority, and I was working as like an advisor and a school sport coach, where I was working in schools. I did that role for about 5 years really, and it was probably the next best thing to football. I couldn't get in. I couldn't get in and work in football, so I worked in schools and worked in sports clubs and helped out. And as part of that role, I started advising teachers on how they deliver PE effectively and all this sort of stuff. And when the government changed, there was big redundancy. So we'd actually went away to get married, and when we came home, I'd had one of the letters that you open as, you know, redundancy letter, and you're thinking, oh wow. And I think that was a really tough period, because I finished and, like, you know, kids go to school and your wife goes to work, and you sat there just thinking, what do you do? Yeah. And
how did you feel at that stage? Can you describe what that was really like?
I guess initially angry, because I pointed it out at everyone, as in there was people who kept their jobs I thought I was better than. There was people, you know, who weren't affected, that I thought their department weren't as good as our department. And it was like an anger thing, really. The chimp comes out, and it's like self-protection, isn't it? I think once you put your chimp away and actually start looking at what you can do.
What's really going on so that was one of the strategies you used, is to watch yourself and start managing yourself.
I think it's important to realise that you should probably only do stuff that helps you. So me being angry and being negative and being miserable wasn't helping. It wasn't helping anybody. It definitely wasn't helping me. So I think one of the things that I started to realize, well, what do I want to do? Because there was loads of jobs out there I could have applied for. You know, I turned down part-time work because it wasn't what I wanted to do. So it was back to, well, what am I interested in? And I was interested in football. So what I did was I did a couple of things. One, I tried to create some work for myself with a local club, working in the community, similar to what I was doing, and I started to pick up some hours and pitch some ideas to them about how I think I should do. The other, I was going to a club, a professional club, and I worked at their academy part-time, and I literally just turned up every morning, just said...
Offered yourself to help out,
I did it every day for a long time, 2 months maybe. I just kept turning up and doing stuff.
And how was that received?
It was way out of my comfort zone, because I'm not the most confident of people. I wouldn't just go and impose myself on people. I'm confident in my ability, but I'm not one to push myself on people.
Knock on doors,
not at all. So it was uncomfortable, and there was some really uncomfortable times where, you know, the academy manager at the time is still a good friend of mine. He was just brilliant with me, and he just was like, come in whenever you want, like, so he made it feel really, really welcoming. But then he wasn't the only member of staff there. The first team were there as well, and it just, sometimes you felt like you were just in the way a little bit. It was a bit uncomfortable, but I got to do loads of good things, and that's, you know, something I learned from that was just about saying yes to stuff. You know, and I think football lit my fire, so I wanted to be involved in football, and then I just had to go and do stuff. So whenever somebody said, can you do this, I would say yes. No problem, I'll do it. And I just kept doing that.
And as a result of doing that,
In 1 week I got 3 jobs. So I'd been applying for jobs in football. I was holding off, and I got a little redundancy payment, and it was nothing. And I knew how long it would take me, and I was getting right to the edge of this time where I'm thinking I'm going to have to start working soon. And literally, I think it was 2 days I got three job offers.
No way.
Yeah, it was incredible. So literally nothing had come along for months, and then I got these three job offers, all in football as well. One was at the FA. So
brilliant.
It was the stuff at the football club that just kept me going. It kept me sane. And it gave me a purpose, because you can only clean the house so many times. You know, at the time we were in quite a small little house, and there wasn't a lot of cleaning to do, and you know, so there was it was tough, but that gave me a purpose. It gave me stuff to do, and it was linked to what I wanted to do. So I was interested, and I would take on little projects. I'd do stuff, research that they didn't even ask me for. I just, here you go, I'll research this, have a look at that, and I just did loads of stuff. And then you know, I think when I got the job at the FA, I was just even more grateful because of what I'd had to do to get to that point, and I was certain that was what I wanted to do. Yeah, because I'd had that really good experience, and I mean, during that experience I did some crazy things, like brilliant. You know, I went on tour to Latvia, tour to Denmark, took some first team training sessions. It was like, wow, it's incredible. Like I was a nobody, like you know, young coach. I think I had my B license.
Great experiences there, though.
Brilliant. Just getting to see certain people work, and God, it was great. You know, but I wouldn't have, that wouldn't have happened if I'd stayed at home. Yeah. You know, feeling miserable, or even not being miserable, but applying for jobs online or doing that. It's actually to get out and do it.
I'm hearing there quite a strong connection there in terms of how did, you know, when the times were tough and I wasn't feeling great and I was quite low, how did I light my own fire? You know, and the way of you lighting your fire was to really get in touch with actually what is it I enjoy doing, what am I passionate about,
and do more of it,
and do as much as I can of it, which was largely being involved in that football environment, helping people get better. Yeah. You know, and actually you did it for free to start with because you needed to get out there.
Yeah, if you know the club as well, even when I got paid, it was close to free. So I did it as often as I could, and even when I turned up and there was nothing to do, I didn't go home. I stayed and just watched. You know. And just stood there watching stuff and learning and
being in the environment and
just
being
trying
present.
To soak in as much as I could, really. So just doing more.
So if I was to pin you down then in terms of those two stories, you know, one of the sort of the real highlight where things are going well, and one when you've really had to drag yourself out and light your own fire. Who's been really inspirational along the journey for you, and why?
Ooh. Well, I think as it's a journey, there's different people at different periods. You know, there's people that are consistent. So my family are a consistent inspiration. Then you've got, you know, my wife and my kids are an inspiration. Yeah. And then I think as you go through. So when I first started off, there was a guy called Derek Spence, and he works at Blackpool's Community Trust. He's a bit of a legend in sort of that sort of area, and he was great and brilliant, and he gave me loads of opportunities and experience and fun times, and just a really, really good guy. Yeah. What
was good about Derek? What was special about him?
He could have one cone, a flat ball, and a field full of dog poo, and you'd have the best hour of your life. He was brilliant. He was infectious. He was enthusiastic. He loved people. He loved fun. He was brilliant. Just really
connected with people. By the sounds like.
Yeah, really, really did connect with you, and that was somebody who inspired me early on. And then I worked in local authority. My boss at the time was Justine, and I think she's at UK Sport now. Yeah. Sport England now, sorry. And she was brilliant because she was bit of a plan, like a visionary, bit of a long-term plan. So it wasn't just do this. She actually looked ahead and thought, you know,
head up and looked out for the future.
We've got good people, and if we don't create different jobs and you know, a platform for them to progress, we will lose these good people. Yeah. So I got different roles and different experiences just because of her. Yeah. You know, I had no real experience. I started off as a sports coach. I was just doing the delivery. you know, 18 months later I was managing the coaches. 18 months later I was like the school club link coordinator, where I was meeting and having strategic meetings, and you know,
loads going on.
Wouldn't have had any of that experience if it wasn't for her and her plans. And then when you went into the FA, God, there's loads of inspiring people in there.
Yeah.
You know, really.
Anybody that stands out for you that you can think, actually they might not even know it, but they had a real impact on me in my career in football?
Yeah, I mean, they would know it. Pete Sturgis and Ian Bateman at the FA, I think, are really inspirational people, because they're good men.
Yeah.
You know, they're good
people.
They're good people. Ian Holloway, I think, was a really big experience. Again, he probably wouldn't know me, but when I kept volunteering and turning up, you know, the academy trained on the same site as the first team, and he was great to watch. Very similar to what I said earlier about people person, connected with people, had a shared values and goals, and it was us, you know, not me, but with his players and staff. It was, you know, we are going to do this because of this, and we had a purpose, and it's us all together. You know, that was really interesting to be able to watch that close by, to see how he connected with people. And you know, he's got this reputation as being a bit wacky and stuff, and he was, but the people loved it, you know, and everybody loved it, and
he lit their fire by the sounds of it. He lit their fire and excited them.
You know, I remember watching. He had a small little canteen, and he taped like an 11-a-side pitch in the canteen so he could do shape, because it was raining and windy outside, and you think, looks a bit
creative,
wacky, but it's brilliant. Really cool. You know, so there's been loads of people that probably.
So if you know, there's a lot of people that are really interested in working in sport. It's their passion, it's their interest, you know, and you've been on a pretty incredible journey, you know, and hopefully there's a long way still to go. But what guidance might you give to somebody who's, you know, wanting to embark on being involved in the sport world?
Just keep saying yes to stuff. Do more. Do as much as you possibly can. And I think, particularly when you know, you see it quite a lot. You know, there's young ambitious people, and that's great. And I remember when I was a coach educator at the FA, there was courses that you could go on. And I remember, like, you know, you're at the start of day one of the first course, and they're asking you about the second course.
Right.
And that was worried me a little bit.
Right.
You know, and you think, and then the other thing that worried me is when I'd turn up to maybe like an assessment day or observation, and they'd worry about the numbers that they were coaching with. So let's say he'd planned for 16, but he only had 14, and he goes and takes 2 players from somewhere else, and you think, oh, that's worrying as well.
So what's the worry around all this for you?
Well, the second one is that you should be able to manage numbers.
Okay.
And I think if you say yes to stuff, so you go and do your community hours, you do your schoolwork, you do your breakfast clubs, you
do all that stuff.
Yeah, it prepares you. You know, like you'd be working in a session, I'd expect 20 and 60 would walk in, or I'd be doing a community session expecting 20 and 6 would turn in.
So there's something for me about actually trying to working in those environments gives you the competencies, the experiences of working with those different environments.
Definitely.
You know,
so it prepares managing numbers, managing situations, managing everything. You know, and I think that shouldn't be your first experience. You know, at the end, you know, we talk about our players. You know, they shouldn't ever experience something for the first time when they're on the pitch for the first team. Because it's too late. They haven't managed. They haven't got the skills to deal with it there. We have to provide that with them before that day. And it's the same with coaching. I think if you want to work at the best and be the best that you can be, you have to have experienced loads of stuff. You know, so that's why I say yes to stuff. Go and deliver. Go and do stuff.
And I'm hearing you and valuing actually all of the good experiences and all of the bad experiences that you had
100%.
Earlier on in your career, and how that's made you the coach and the developer of people you are today.
I think 100%. You know, the first job I did at the FA, I was travelling around the country delivering these after school type sessions. No one was coming to most of them. You know, sometimes I'd have 20, but most of the time I'd have 2 or 3 or 7. You know, not these perfect numbers that you think of.
Can you see those experiences then, Matt, playing out in the work you do today? Can you make connections back to them in some way?
So we have, you know, we have our under-18s team, and then there's the first team, and let's say the first team has an injury or an illness or want to do something specific, or there's a game or someone's on recovery, they'll ring and ask for some of our players, or they'll take our players for their session.
So you could be flexible again.
You could plan for 16 and 2 minutes later you've got 13, and 2 minutes later there's actually 2 late injuries and actually you only got 11.
Yeah.
But you're still working on this topic.
Yeah.
You still got this space. You still got 90 minutes to deliver.
Yeah.
And you still got 11 players that need your attention and best practice possible and best support. Yeah. So that's no different than me delivering a PE lesson and expecting 20 and having 30.
Yeah.
It's the same principle. So that the numbers thing just doesn't faze me anymore. But I see coaches where their head falls off when they've planned for 12 and they've got 11. You think, you should be able to
manage that.
Deal with that. That's not a problem. But it's not a problem because I've done probably 10 years of small numbers because people haven't turned up, or big numbers.
And managing and being flexible.
Yeah.
And being agile in the work that you do. And I'm hearing out the principles that you've kind of brought along the way through your journey about really inspiring others and inspiring yourself. Lighting your fire. Having to be flexible and agile in what you do, but also valuing the early experiences because they've made you who you are.
Definitely, definitely. And that's just my journey. Other people have been on different journeys, and they will bring different things to the table than me. They'll have different strengths and different areas to develop, and that's fine as well. I think you've got to be aware of what you bring, and what So I know, for example, I'm quite good at managing numbers. I'm quite good at maybe practice design. I'm quite good at. But I haven't a playing background, so where do I need to work? Well, I need to make sure I understand the game inside out, because if I don't, when I'm coaching at the highest level possible, I might struggle. So I need to. I think you just got to be aware
and honest to your ability.
Honestly with yourself,
Brilliant. Well, given what you just said there about your journey has been yours, and others will have a similar or possibly different journey, I would like to move us on to our little quick fire round here, where we can potentially offer some real nuggets to those that are listening in terms of what can really help them potentially on their journey. Okay. So I'm going to fire a few questions at you, Matt, and then don't think about it too much. Gut response is probably best. So what sort of books would you recommend to the group out there? People that books that really impacted and inspired you. For maximum.
Firstly, positive psychology stuff. I absolutely love it. NLP, anything to do with language, positive thinking, positivity. Absolutely love it. So anything like that. The Art of Being Brilliant. Fantastic book. Really easy read. Loads of positive stuff that you could take away and do. Really like stuff like I mentioned Damien Hughes before. So if you're into football, something like the Barcelona way, or Thinking Like Sir Alex Ferguson, gives you some stories, anecdotes of football world, but also gives you some real practical things to take away and use. I really like the book called Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point. That sort of helped me, because at one point I was thinking, how am I gonna, and I started like a 5-year plan when I was working at the council, try and get myself into full-time football, and that is I'm working in the council, working in schools, and I want to go and work in full-time football. That was massive. And the tipping point is about building something up to a point where it becomes inevitable.
The momentum kind of idea.
Just building up everything so that the fact that that's going to happen is inevitable. It's just about when is it going to happen.
Great.
So I really like that, and I get Simon Hartley is another author I really like, and he Two Lengths of the Pool is something I'd recommend. So there's probably a mix there of 4 books around, maybe about psychology, some around football, and some about personal development as well,
and performance stuff. Good. Let me keep moving on. Given this, given the day and age that we're now in, and the importance of technology, what would you say is a piece of technology that you would not do without now?
Oh, good one. I would say Twitter's very good from a social media point of view, as in finding stuff out and connecting with people. If you maybe network's quite small, there's loads of people you could reach out for. From a coaching point of view, I think Huddle is brilliant. Huddle, HUDL, is like an analysis tool. And you can film something, upload it, and then let's say me and you are working together. I could film your session, we'd put it onto Huddle, and then you would go through it at your own time, away from me. Right. So instead of this hot review where it's like emotional and, oh, I thought it was great, oh, it was terrible, it's actually I'm watching it and I can listen to myself and I can clip it. So you could clip 3 or 4 things that you did really well. You could clip
Excellent.
1 or 2 things that you maybe need to work on. And even better than that, you can share those clips with me and I can converse with you over the app. So I could message you back saying, yeah, but this bit here was excellent, and you could write back and say, you know, what about this? How could I do this better? So we use that with the players and our coaches quite a lot. So the players will have playlists of themselves doing stuff that they're doing really well, some things that they need to work.
Sounds like a great learning tool over a period of time as well, where you can go back and reflect. And
really good, really good. So we have individual learning plans. They're reviewed every 6 weeks. So they have clips from week 1. They might have the same learning plan for 18, 24 weeks. So 24 weeks later, we can look at clip 1 and go, this is what you were doing then. Now look at how well you've done it.
Show progression and development. So
also allows you to get some measurable stuff. So you could get stats from it, you know, so you could watch back your game and you could just stat yourself and all that sort of stuff. Really, really good tool. Really good.
Brilliant. Okay. Bit different here. If you were to win the lottery tomorrow, which charity or where would you offer some support or offer some money to?
I thought you were going to say where we're going to go on holiday. And I was just having a good think. I think there's probably a few in my head, so I don't think I could narrow it down to one. I think there's probably a few that would get something. I think Diabetes UK would get something. Cancer research would get something. And that's both really good charities. And then I'd have to go around mental health. I think this is such a important thing, and I think we need to be better at talking about it.
We were talking about that earlier, weren't we?
You know, my wife works in mental health, and I just think we all need to be better at understanding it and realising it and talking about it.
Great, really powerful stuff. Okay, what advice would you give to a teenage version of yourself? I always like that question. What advice would you give to a teenage version?
I probably wouldn't go for the mullet again. So I'd say get rid of that straight away. I think going back to what I said before about say yes. Say yes to stuff. So for example, I remember being at university and I got the opportunity to do my level 2, FA level 2. I think it would have cost £20. And it was down the road. I think it was a bus. It was a bus away, and I didn't do it. And then when I finished university, I ended up. I sort of live on the coast in the northwest, and I couldn't find a course close to me. I ended up having to get to Manchester to do a level 2 and spend £250 plus travelling there and back for God knows how. And you think, God, why didn't you just do that? It's so lazy. So I'd have just done more. I think I'd have done more.
Say yes and take the opportunity when it's there.
I think I probably I tended to overthink a lot. I probably still do, and you know, there's pros and cons of that. But I think I definitely should just go. I'm going to do that. Do it, and I think that would be my advice.
Good stuff. Okay, and I'm going to take you back a little bit to what you mentioned earlier, but I want you to be really quite straight here. So, which 3 people have most positively impacted on your sport involvement?
Okay, so I'll put my family to side. I'm going to put my family to one side because no one's more inspirational than your family, are they? So
for you,
I wouldn't bore people with that, but family aside, I think I would go for. Oh, it's so tough. I'd go for Derek Spence because I think he lit the fire in the first place about working with people
in the early day,
and coaching. I'll go with Justine Blomley because she taught me about planning and people, and about when you're a manager you need to understand your people and what lights their fire. So she knew what lit my fire and she helped me to do that. Even though it wasn't necessarily helping the job, she knew that helping me would help me perform my job better, and I think that's a real good lesson to learn.
Lovely.
And then I think I would go for somebody like Michael Jolly, who is a football manager, but he if you look at his background, it isn't a playing background.
Lovely.
I don't know Michael. I've seen some of the stuff he's done. I've watched his journey, and I can see a lot of similarities now in me and him.
Parallel with.
Yeah, so he did a different job.
Okay, lovely.
Found out that he wanted to do football because that's what he loves. He came away. He volunteered at places. He did long days, long weeks, make it happen, and a football manager on the back of it. And I think he's probably inspired me as into you can do better. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's really powerful stuff. Okay, and then the last one, just to add on to that, and it might be the same persons. Whose sports story would you most like to hear, and preferably from somebody who's alive?
That is a good question. There's so many, isn't there?
Go on, gut feel. Who is? Just one of them then.
Somebody in sport.
Anybody.
Or anybody altogether.
Yeah, no, somebody in sport, preferably. Somebody
sport.
Or connected to sport whose story you would really be interested in.
Oh, that is tough. That's like, when you go into a sweet shop and there's so many things and you don't even know where to go, and you pick something that this is what will happen, and I do this a lot. I'll pick something because I don't know, there's so many things, and I go, I'll have that, and then I'll come home later and I think, I didn't want that afterwards. Yeah, so this is what this will be. I think I'll go for Eric Cantona.
Eric Cantona?
Yeah.
Okay. And why briefly, why would you be drawn to Eric Cantona's story?
Because when he came, he was just very good.
Yeah.
He was dedicated to what he did.
Yeah.
And he just was just so decisive and so he just understood what he wanted, and he made that decision. Yeah. And just a fascinating man. I always want to know why he retired when he retired.
So many unanswered questions.
He had so much more to give at that point, and what was his thinking behind it, and I'd love to know what his background was and what sort of stuff he did as a kid to be able to do the stuff he did. Where did he get that confidence from? Yeah. How is it so almost unflappable? So many times he just believed in himself, and he'd be an interesting one.
Gosh. And just to wrap us all off then, Matt, tell us a little bit more about just where you're at then and where you're going, and if people were interested to find out a little bit more about you and your story or your journey, how might they be able to find out a bit more about you, or contact you?
Well, you can contact me. I'm on Twitter.
Okay, great.
I quite like that as a tool of connecting people. I'm quite interested in connecting people. I think that's quite an interesting thing. I'm interested in people, so you can find me on Twitter, and I'll pass you my stuff. You can pass that on, and people get in touch. But I see myself very much as the start of my journey, really. And I think I probably once had these goals of material things, as in doing this and doing that, and now I'm more at a point where I want to be something rather than doing something. So
really like
my goal is just to be the best coach that I can be, and I mean coach in the wider sense of
developing people.
And I want to be the best coach that I could possibly be. So if people are interested, then they can reach out, and you could find me on social media or pass you my email address if
Matt, be it. I'll by all means do that, and a lot of the details that you've shared here we'll put on the show notes for the podcast. But what's really come across very strongly is your passion and the fire within you. I've really liked the positive approach from our conversation today, which again lives true to the philosophy you talked around in terms of your positive psychology and the approach that you like to deliver. And I would just like to really thank you for being open and sharing your story, and who knows, we might be back here again at some stage doing some more of this.
More than welcome.
So Matt, thanks again. Really appreciate it, and obviously good luck with the rest with your sports story and your journey, and we look forward to hearing more of it in the future.
Thanks very much, Dan.
All right, take care. Thanks a lot, Matt. So there we have it, the story of Matt Craddock, head of coaching at Preston North End. From his really open discussion, he made me really reflect on a couple of things. One of those being the idea of learning about learning. So as the coach of others, I would like to pose the following question. How do you help those around you understand how they learn? The second question I'd like to pose is based on you looking back and you appreciating your career and life experiences to date. So I want to ask, what are the most powerful life experiences you have had so far, and how could they best serve you now? And to draw the show to a close, don't miss out on looking at the show notes where there is a summary of key parts of the conversation, including the responses to the quickfire questions. You will also find some links to the books and resources mentioned. And finally, to you, the listener, it's been great to have you with us on the Sports Stories podcast today. I do hope you have valued listening and have taken some form of learning or inspiration from the conversation. There will be further podcasts released next week, and it would be great to have you listening in. To find out more, not to miss any of our guests, please also follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course don't forget to subscribe. If you want to contact me directly, then email me on sportstories247@gmail.com. We will always welcome feedback and recommendations on future guests. Thanks again for listening, and I really look forward to having you with me on the next show.